Welcome to the Batman Villains of Old Time Radio, our amazing world of radio summer series where we examine the old-time radio careers of the talented performers who brought the 1960s TV Batman villains to life. Now, from Boise, Idaho, here's your host, Adam Graham.
It's our last episode in this mini-series, and we're focusing on Zsa Zsa Gabor, who played the very last villain in the 1966 Batman series, Minerva. Zsa Zsa Gabor was a name you just knew when I was growing up. It was associated with being famous in the entertainment industry and in the tabloids. She was one of three Gabor sisters, along with Magda and Eva, who emigrated to the U.S. from Hungary. All were actresses and socialites. Zsa Zsa was the one who was probably the most famous and in the news when I was growing up, even though I mostly saw her on talk shows and cameos, and this was pretty representative of her career. A lot of TV guest appearances and small movie parts, though she was also capable of doing serious acting or a bit of camp goofiness like the Queen of Outer Space. So that made her a fitting choice to play a Batman villain. Her guest work also included radio, and she appeared a couple of times on The Bob Hope Show. We're going to bring you one of those programs. The original air date is November 27th, 1953. Let's go ahead and take a listen to The Bob Hope Show.
The Bob Hope Show, transcribed direct from Hollywood with Les Brown and his band of renown. Our singing star, Margaret Whiting. Our special guest, Zsa Zsa Gabor. And here he is, Bob Hope.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Pardon my throat, ladies and gentlemen. Have a little smog in it tonight. You know, a glass of milk a day keeps the doctor away. 2 glasses a day keeps the dentist away. And 3 glasses of milk a day and you're a hermit, but a healthy one. But I want to tell you that... Bless you. But that milk is wonderful for you. At our dinner yesterday, we had a wonderful milk-fed turkey. That turkey was really milk-fed. At sunset, it got up off the platter and headed back to the barn. I don't suppose you've seen my relatives eat. It's sort of a yucca flats with flying wishbones. No, it was a close affair. At one point in the meal, they had gravy on me, and my brother Jack was putting salt and pepper on my leg. I happened to be in New York last week when they were having their smog. I'm sure it was just a coincidence. In New York, they had a smaze. That's sort of a sissy smog. Thick enough to slow you down, but you can't lean against it. The smaze wasn't as powerful as smog. When you take a deep breath of the stuff we have out here, you can get up again, but not the same day. The mayor of New York wired the Los Angeles City Hall asking what to do about it, and we're going to let him know as soon as we find the City Hall.
Folks, this has been a day of turmoil for Bob and for everyone else on the show. Yes, sir. It all started this morning at Bob's home when I asked him one simple question. Say, Bob.
Yeah, Bill.
Can I be excused from appearing on the show tonight?
Why, what's the matter with you?
Well, Zsa Zsa Gabor is going to be your guest tonight, isn't she?
That's right, Bill, but don't let Zsa Zsa frighten you. Just be calm and cool like I am.
It's too late, Rob. I don't want to be on the show with Zsa Zsa tonight because I've fallen for her.
You've fallen for Zsa Zsa?
Yes.
Well, if you gotta go, I can't think of a nicer way. When did this all happen?
Yesterday when you sent me over to her place with a script. I could tell Zsa Zsa liked me the minute she saw me. You know what she did? She actually invited me to stay for tea.
Maybe she likes tea with lemon. Then what happened, Bill?
Well, while we were drinking it, Zsa Zsa looked in my eyes and said, I'm so thrilled to know a big, strong man like you. And bing, I got all choked up.
With love?
No, I swallowed my tea bag.
That's very romantic, Bill. As a lover, you'd make a wonderful garbage disposal. But I don't see why you have to have the evening off just because you've taken a fancy to Zsa Zsa. After all, you didn't ask her to marry you.
You want a bed?
Well, that's very clever of you, Bill. If she accepts, you'd be sure of a crowd at the wedding.
How do you mean?
Well, there'd be you and Zsa Zsa and your wife and your 4 kids. You won't need a minister. You'll need a referee.
Well, gee, you see the jam I'm in, don't you, Bob?
Well, why didn't you ask my advice about this, Bill? I could give you advice in this kind of a matter. After all, you can't fall for every pretty face you see. You'd have 5 or 6 different girls around town. You'd always be kissing one girl and rushing to the other and trying to keep them from finding out about each other. You never get any rest. You wind up tired, exhausted, a nervous wreck, completely worn out. Only one word describes a life like that.
What is it?
Sensational.
Well, gee, Bob, what'll I do?
Relax, Bill. I'll run over to Zsa Zsa's right now. I'll bring you some candy and flowers and straighten the whole thing out.
Oh, thanks, Bob. But from now on, I'm swearing off girls. Forever.
Good.
Oh, by the way, put a card in the flowers, will you? To Honey Cheeks from Sugar Lips.
Well, I'll see you later, Bill. I'll go over to Zsa Zsa's right now.
Oui, monsieur?
Oh, I'd like to see Miss Gabor.
Entrez, s'il vous plaît.
Thank you.
Asseyez-vous un moment, monsieur. Votre nom?
Yes, it has been rather chilly.
Comprenez français?
Oh, sure, I speak French fluently. C'est si bon, cherchez la femme, Chevrolet Coupé, and Oui, Oui, Marie. I have 3 or 4 others, but I don't want to get arrested. Anyway, I'll just wait here till Miss Gabor can see me, huh?
Hello, Bob.
Hello, Zsa Zsa. Gee, you look pretty as a picture.
Why have you come to see me, Bob? Is it about my being on your radio show?
No, I'm here about something else, Zsa Zsa. It's a very delicate matter.
How interesting. Go on.
Well, some men are just empty-headed idiots and nothing can be done about it. What would you say, Zsa Zsa, if I told you a big, dull-witted lout is madly in love with you?
Why, Bob, is this a proposal?
No, I didn't mean myself, Zsa Zsa. I'm talking about Bill Goodwin. You see, Bill is just an unsophisticated guy. He falls for any pretty face.
Then you wouldn't waste time on me. You don't think I could make you fall in love with me?
No, Zsa Zsa, you couldn't make me fall in love with you because I'm a man of the world, sophisticated, suave, blasé.
You are blasé without the B. Where did you get all these ideas that you are so great and hard to get?
Well, I read a wonderful book that tells how to handle these situations, Zsa Zsa. It's called Man, Ruler of the Sexes. Tells all about how men have ruled women all through the ages, from Socrates right up through Rock Hudson.
This book helped you?
It certainly did, Zsa Zsa. Before I read it, in my dealings with women, I was just a pale, washed-out namby-pamby, but I've changed.
Yes, now you have a 10.
Well, take it easy on Goodwin anyway, as a favor to me, Zsa Zsa. I'll be running along now.
But I want you to have a cup of tea with me.
Well, that worked with Bill, but I'm a sophisticated man of the world. You can't pierce my shell.
Really? Are you sure that I cannot pierce your shell?
You trying to pierce it or melt it? Don't try it, honey. I'm too tough for you. You'll only smash yourself in the Rock of Gibraltar.
Oh, you think so? Lie back in this chair. Let Zsa Zsa look in your eyes.
Okay?
Now, do you feel romance?
No.
Let Zsa Zsa stroke your forehead. Now, do you feel romance?
No. Nothing coming through yet.
Now, let her press her lips to yours. What was that?
It was either romance or one of my garters busted. Here's Margaret Whiting, the doll of Capitol Records, singing that great standard, It Had to Be You. Come in, Maggie.
It had to be you. It had to be you. I wandered around and finally found somebody who could make me be true, could make me be blue, and even be glad just to be sad, thinking of you. Some others I've seen might never be me, might never be cross or try to be boss, but they wouldn't do. Nobody else gave me a thrill. With all your faults, I love you still. Had to be you, wonderful you. Had to be you. It had to be you. It had to be you. I wandered around, finally found somebody who could make me be true, could make me be blue, and even be glad just to be sad, thinking of you. Some others I've seen might never be me, might never be cross, try to be boss, they wouldn't do. For nobody else gave me a thrill. With all your faults, I love you still. Had to be wonderful you. No one could do the things that you do. Just had to be wonderful you.
Ladies and gentlemen, someone once said humor's the true democracy. That's why we in America can smile when we tell the stories of the legendary heroes who helped build our country's great industries and institutions. Take steel, for example. What made us the greatest steel manufacturers in the world? Ask any worker at the open hearth of any Pennsylvania steel mill, and the answer will be the same. Joe Mazurak, the giant whose body was made of pure steel. They'll tell you Joe invented the riveting machine by punching rivets with his fists, and cannonballs by rolling the hot steel in his hands like he was making butterballs. They'll tell you Joe Mazurak made steel rails by squeezing molten steel between his fingers. A legend? Sure, Joe Mazurak is only a legend, someone who existed only in the minds of those who have handed down our American folklore. But Joe Mazurak is also a spirit, the spirit of those men who work and sweat before the open hearths of the Alleghenies. Yes, it is democracy which lets us tell stories of our industries, institutions, and legendary heroes with a twinkle in our eyes and a chuckle in our throats. And so long as we continue to laugh together as a people, we will live together as a nation. Thank you very much.
When Bob returned home from visiting Zsa Zsa this afternoon, he had a rather glazed look in his eyes.
Zsa Zsa, Zsa Zsa, Zsa Zsa is the girl for me. The birds and bees have got a cousin since I met her. My buzzer's buzzing, Zsa Zsa. Zsa Zsa. Zsa Zsa is the girl for me. Razzle dazzle.
Hello, Bob. We're waiting to start rehearsal.
How'd it go, Bob?
How'd it go?
Yeah, did you smooth things over with Zsa Zsa?
Are you kidding? Bill, a whole new situation has developed.
What do you mean?
It is now Bob and Zsa Zsa.
Zsa Zsa Gabor and you? Oh, you're kidding. Zsa Zsa didn't really fall for you, did she?
Why not? She's human, isn't she?
That's what makes it so hard to understand.
That was very cute, Maggie. We were watching for your ad in Variety under Situations Wanted.
Well, Bob, I'm very sorry, but I just can't understand Zsa Zsa falling in love with you.
Well, for one thing, she said I was the handsomest devil she ever saw.
Oh, stop.
She said that, too.
Well, come on, Bob. Let's start rehearsal.
Okay, but Zsa Zsa will be over here in a few minutes, and I want you all to help me.
Help you? Well, how?
Well, I want to make a good impression on Zsa Zsa. I want to make her think I'm sophisticated and worldly, handsome and noble.
What do we do, slip her a Mickey?
Oh, that was a good one. If they ever put a price on your head, take it. Bill, I really want to impress Zsa Zsa. Make her think I'm a member of the upper crust, so when she arrives, I want you to act as my butler.
Your butler?
Bill.
Yes, master. Anything you say, master.
That's a nice thing about our contract with Goodwin. We don't give him his blood back till the end of the season. Maggie, you can pitch in and help, too.
Okay, Chief, what's my assignment?
Well, we could use a touch of glamour. Why don't you play a Southern belle?
Oh, I can do it easy.
A rich Southern belle from an old, old family.
No, I can do it easy.
And you're madly in love with me.
I'd better rehearse.
Look, Ragmop. Hey, that might be her now. You ready, Bill? All set, Maggie?
Yes, sir, boss. My cones is poning and my weevils is a weeveling.
Get it, Bill.
Hello, sugar lips.
Hi, honey cheeks. Announcing Miss Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Well, here we are. Hello, Zsa Zsa.
Hello, Bob.
Oh, hello, Zsa Zsa.
Hello, Bob.
Hello, Zsa Zsa.
Hello, Bob.
Gee, this girl's got an answer for everything.
Oh, Bob, what's the matter with you?
What do you mean?
You act so strange. You look like a sick cow.
Well, that's how I always look when I see a healthy calf. You know? Come in the drawing room and join our little group, Zsa Zsa.
Thank you.
Oh, Zsa Zsa, I'd like you to meet a friend of mine. This is...
Well, hiya, oh, honey. I'm Magnolia Morning Glory, Peach Blossom, Beauregard E. Lee. I'm from Down South.
Take it easy. One step further south and you'll be a Mexican. How south can you get?
I'm very glad to know you, Miss Lee.
What an interesting hairdo, Miss Gabor. Tell me, honey, did you put it up with your gloves on or off?
Oh, that kind, eh? No, dear. I have my hair done by a very exclusive stylist. Why don't you slip yours off and send it over to him? What a charming comb you have here, Bob.
Oh, yes, I'm loaded, you know, although I am cutting down this year. In the servants' swimming pool, we're just using plain water this year.
What do you use in your own pool?
Taboo. We don't have a diving board. We just jump off of Liberace's candlesticks.
Goodness, Bob. If you were this rich in my country, Hungary, you'd be a nobleman.
Well, as a matter of fact, Zsa Zsa, they're cooking up a deal to get me into the nobility now.
Really?
Yes, Queen Elizabeth is making me a Knight of the Garter as soon as I send her my sock size.
Bob, I'm terribly impressed. I didn't realize you were so wealthy and important.
Oh, yes, I just dabble in the cinema for a lark. Actually, I'd much rather be back in the family estate.
Your family has an estate.
Yes, we have a little place north of London.
What is it called?
Scotland.
How thrilling. And are all your family noblemen?
Oh, yes, all kings and dukes. In fact, if anything as low as an earl came to our castle, we couldn't let them in the front way. They'd have to go around to the back moat. We have a string of polo ponies, string of farms, string of servants.
How did your family get so rich?
Saving string. You don't mind if I crack a little joke occasionally, do you?
Not at all. I'm not listening.
Well, anyway, Zsa Zsa, I'm glad you found out what an important person I am and what a fine old family I come from.
Yoo-hoo! Anybody home in this joint?
Pardon me, Zsa Zsa. Someone must have the wrong house here.
What do you mean a wrong house? Don't you know your Uncle Mort when I come all the way from Cleveland to visit you? Hiya, Ratsy! Hey, you're looking great. Ain't seen you since we both hopped over the wall at the state pen. Those were the days, eh, Rat?
Hello, Uncle Mort.
Bob, this is your uncle?
Well, he's a different branch of our family tree. He's a different branch of our family tree, Zsa Zsa, the branch where the beetles got under the bark. Well, nice to see you, Uncle Mort. Drop in again sometime.
Hey, what's the idea, Rats? Are you trying to get me to brush off?
Well, I'm very busy right now.
Now, is this any way to treat your poor old uncle? The guy that put the first pool cue in your chubby little mitts? The guy that showed you how to jimmy gum machines so you'd always have a trade to fall back on? The guy that helped you earn your first buck slugging campfire girls and selling the marshmallows?
Now, wait a I'll admit you were wonderful to all of us, Uncle Mort. You kept the whole family dressed in hot mink.
Bob, I think I'll be going now.
No, don't run away, Blue Eyes. Come on, Ratsy. Introduce me. Who's the skite?
Oh, this is Miss Zsa Zsa Gabor.
How do you do?
Never better than right now. Hey, kitten, hey, you are what is referred to in a better circles as a cute cupcake. A sharp cookie. A real cream puff.
Please, don't press your nose against the bakery window. Look, Uncle Mort, why don't you drop around some other time?
No. I want to talk to him. Tell me, did you grow up in the same estate with Bob?
Well, speaking loosely, if you call a third-floor tenement flat an estate, yeah.
Bob, if you lived on the third floor of a tenement, how could you keep a string of polo ponies?
Well, we had a very large service porch. Look, Zsa Zsa, I may have exaggerated a little bit, but most of what I told you was true.
Oh, then you do have some rich relatives.
Well, there's Uncle Herman. He's a used car dealer. He only deals in Nashes. That way he can either sell it to you or rent you a bed for the night.
Well, I meant to tell you, Ratsy, Cousin George is doing another stretch up the river.
Up the river?
He means that Cousin George is sojourning in his large home in the Hudson. It's a wonderful place up there. In fact, it's a famous landmark.
Yeah, practically an institution.
But what is this, doing a stretch?
Well, he's a girdle demonstrator. Look, I don't want to... Look, why should I try to kid you any longer, Zsa Zsa? This whole thing is a big story I've made up.
What do you mean?
Well, I grew up in the streets of Cleveland. I haven't got any big, fine family.
Oh, poor Bob. Don't feel bad. Let me give you a kiss.
And I haven't got any big estate in Scotland.
There. I'll give you another kiss.
And I haven't got any castle. Or any polo ponies.
I'll give you another kiss.
Boy, this is awful. This is terrible.
What is the matter?
I've run out of things. I haven't got any of.
This is the United States Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
Welcome back. Margaret Whiting was hilarious. I'm much more familiar with the Frances Langford, Jerry Colonna era of the program, but her faux Southern accent was one of the best bad accents ever. And she also had some great lines as well. I think this may be the first time we've heard the same guest actor in consecutive weeks during this miniseries, and what a contrast for Sheldon Leonard. Last week showed the sort of dramatic chops he possessed, and the sort of range he had as an actor. But this type of role he played this week, that was his bread and butter. Bob Hope's jokes about the smog were so over the top, it made me really curious whether smog was really that bad back in the 1950s, and the answer was yes, it was. In fact, people had reason to be genuinely alarmed by it, rather than just kind of annoyed or chagrined. This episode aired a little less than a year after the Great London Smog of 1952, when the city of London was covered in smog for 5 days. The toxicity of the smog led to around 4,000 deaths in the short term. More modern examinations of medical records suggest that the actual death toll over the months may have been 2 or 3 times that number. California's governor, Goodwin Knight, appointed a committee to recommend measures to fight air pollution in order to prevent something like that happening in Los Angeles. Now, there are reasons to think that in 1953, an event like occurred in London was not likely to happen in Los Angeles anytime soon. To start with, London's air pollution problems go back to the 13th century, but you can understand people being alarmed, and you can understand why people thought programs were needed to address this problem. But actually coming up with solutions was going to take time, and in the meanwhile, the only thing the average Angelino could do is smile, joke about it, and then get on with your business. Hope's PSA in the middle was interesting. I do wonder if that was part of the original program. I've heard it on other armed forces programs. Did it originate with this episode, or was it just inserted here along with other programs? It should be noted that this was a start of a long association between Bob Hope and Zsa Zsa Gabor. She appeared several times during the final years of his radio programs, including on his daily 15-minute program, and did a cameo in the final road picture, The Road to Hong Kong, as well as appearing multiple times on his TV shows and specials, appearing with Bob Hope for more than 20 years. So now let's talk about the very last episode of Batman, which was entitled Minerva, Mayhem, and Millionaires, in which Zsa Zsa Gabor plays Minerva. Minerva runs a health spa that caters to Gotham's most wealthy and powerful clientele, including several millionaires. On one of her treatments, she surreptitiously uses a deepest secret extractor device, which manages to allow her to ask their subconscious mind information that she needs in order to rob them. And of course, as the robberies pick up, Batman and Robin become involved, and they get led to the spa. In terms of Minerva as a character, there's not much to her at all. She's essentially Zsa Zsa Gabor running a spa. She gets a little charming and flirty, and that's it. There's no real backstory on the villain. There's no grand plan. There's no explanation how she got this one-trick device that she uses. She's just there, and she's doing a thing. To be fair, I don't think it helps my opinion that I just watched The Black Widow, who had a similar, albeit more powerful, mind-related gimmick, and was written in such a more interesting way than what we get for Minerva. Now, the fact that she's such a sort of blank villain is not something I blame Zsa Zsa Gabor for. She's not really given a whole lot to work with in this episode. There doesn't seem to be a big idea. Some of the problems with the character can be blamed on the budgetary limits of the final season, but even then, in the previous episode, they managed to give Dr. Cassandra an interesting backstory and plan. And even Nora Clavicle's Ladies' Crime Club had a ridiculous plot involving mechanical mice. This feels a lot more mailed in, like the writers realized the show was going to be over and ran out of steam. The death trap of this episode, used twice, was an evil take on a steam machine, leading to the one highlight for Minerva when she was rejoicing over the dynamic duo having been evaporated, when in reality they had escaped off-screen. Even the Batgirl appearance, which was only one scene, felt a bit shoehorned in. All that said, is there something I really liked about the episode? Well, first of all, we did get a fun cameo from the show's producer and narrator William Dozer, which causes you to do a little bit of a double take because we've been hearing his voice as the narrator all this time. I also love the final fight scene. It's a good old-fashioned Batman fight. Well, it doesn't hit the highlights of the sort of fights that I've seen in my rewatch with the Archer, the Joker, the Penguin, or Egghead. It's not in the dark as happened in the previous episode with Dr. Cassandra. And it's a fun little fight scene, and even Alfred gets in on the action. And it has to be said that the episode wasn't a painful viewing experience. It was just below average and a dull end to what had been a great and iconic series. Batman was a series that allowed a really creative and talented team to create a superhero series like no other and provide their own spin on comic books and have these characters realized by some of the most talented performers of their era. The series has provided inspiration for generations of fans as well as creators. When I think back to my childhood, I not only got the 1966 Batman TV series, but other programs that I loved, like The Tick or Darkwing Duck, would not have existed without the trail that was blazed by this program. It's been great to have the occasion to go back and to rewatch so much Batman over the past few months. And at the same time to realize the idea of looking at the radio work of these actors and exploring the depths of their talents that when I was younger I didn't realize that they had done so much more than just appearing on Batman. I hope you've enjoyed our journeys into the Batcave and into the various old-time radio programs. It's been such a delight to have a series where we featured such a wide variety of shows. Well, now we turn to listener comments and feedback, and we have one comment from Dave on Spotify regarding the episode Mr. Shakespeare. Absolutely a fun episode, just as you promised on the air with me. Thanks again for being my guest and for your work. Thanks so much, Dave. It was fun being on the program. He was doing a guest spot on WOND Radio in New Jersey, and I will include a link to that interview in the show notes. Now it is time to thank our Patreon supporter of the day, and I want to thank Ralph. Ralph's been a Patreon supporter since August 2022, currently supporting the podcast at the rookie level of $2 or more per month. Thank you so much for your support, Ralph. While our Batman miniseries is over, we're not quite going on fall hiatus just yet. Next week, we'll feature a program honoring the late radio actress Barbara Fuller, and we'll be back next Wednesday with that. In the meantime, send your comments to box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow us on Twitter at Radio Detectives, and check us out on Instagram. Instagram.com/greatdetectives. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.